This is Martial Arts Explorer, exploring functional self-defense techniques as revealed in classical martial arts of all styles. I'm Scott Combs. This time we're looking at what is often called a double strike or a high-low strike. Now, this technique shows up in many classical forms, and if they were used in self-defense in classical times, it makes sense they might be useful today. We just need to look at them in a new way. Far too often, forms are interpreted in simple block and strike and kick terms. When the student is sufficiently mature, it's time to apply the grappling or grabbing techniques to their form interpretation repertoire. Here's one Michael's been playing with.
Thanks, Scott. We're going to look at P25 or P25 today. There's a section of this form which has a move that comes across like this. I'm back in a cat stance. I'm working a down block and basically a middle counter of sorts or a high outside counter. Your choice, doesn't really matter. This basic motion. Now you'll notice the great thing is this is very close to this motion found in so many katas. A basic down strike and an outside counter, a high punch, or even wider versions coming out in this direction. It's all very similar. This just happens to have a forward stance instead of a horse stance coming in this direction. Now we have a nice little move for this. John's going to come in and join me. We'll work from our first touch scenario. Now remember, so many times in self-defense, we're not talking ballistic situation. The fight hasn't started. We're not boxing or wrestling at this point. The fight's just happening. He latches on. He starts to grab. I'm going to start to react. He grabs on to my coat, my jacket, my lapel. You know, remember, this isn't so important. What we're looking for is the idea that one hand is up. Now, if he had a hand flat at me, it works. If he's grabbing my shoulder, it works. That's the idea that we're looking for. He winds up. What am I going to do? One, if he's got a hold of me, it's a handle for me to hold back onto him. So I'm going to grab in and I'm going to grab a couple points in here and I can twist into these points. He throws his punch. I can't ignore it, right? So I'm going to strike it. We like to strike right in the bicep. Deaden the arm a little bit. Hit some of these points in here. This way. Here's your first one. He's probably going to wind back and hit you again or change tactics, but he still has a hold on you. So great. Use that. Strike into lung 5 and start to twist the body through. This turns him away from us. Now the move we're looking for pulls up and away, or actually I'm doing the other side of it. I'm doing this direction. So here's my down counter motion. What's it say? Reach around, pull, and lift. All right? That's what you're looking for. Twist and out. Now, if I'm doing it and I'm being nicer as I come in, I pull, I drop step, and I set my partners down. All right, a little easier. As you were doing this a little bit harder, I would simply strike in, start to rotate him through, reach and grab, and I would yank him back off his feet. I'm going to pull this back. I'm up-weighting him to get him moving, and then as I drop, I just simply turn the neck real quick with the head and throw his body back and over. So one more time. He grabs on, block 1, strike 2, turn, roll, pull in, lift, and back and through. All right, thanks, John. All right, so there we have P25 go down, P25, down counter motion with the middle counter this direction, which is very similar to all these other katas that have moves coming in and out. You're pulling lung 5 across the elbow, reaching around, grab and lift. All right, let's get the class and let them try it. All right, we're going to look at P25 today, and this move that has a down counter and a middle counter coming up. Now, in the form, you're in a cat stance, but it's not so important to what you're actually doing here. We're looking more at the arm motions this time anyways. If Kelly's worked with me, it's starting off as a lapel grab or a front grab of some sort, the hands in here. Now remember, if someone gives you something to hold on to, more often than not, lock into it, dig in the back of that thumb side and pull into this, all right? As this punch comes in, boom, weaken it up, protect yourself all the time. Strike lung 5. Lung 5 likes to be struck in, and the slight forward twist here really pulls the body in. This tips her forward and gives me a nice easy reach. If they're way out here, I'm not going to be able to reach in, so we like to collapse this, and you're coming right in front of the elbow, the slight strike in at the end. Reach around, grab the chin. Now you might have to get in deep. You might need to climb into somebody, but from here you want to make sure and pull them back into. And this is where I think of that cat stance. Cat stance, what does your weight do? It tends to sit back. So when I sit back, that's me pulling somebody in. Now I want to keep twisting. Don't just hold this hand here and not do anything with it. Keep turning it, and now I'm going to lift, stretch the head, and turn out and away this way. Now this mimics a lot of forms. We're using this from P25 go down here, but it's not so different from moves from Shinto or so many other form systems that have these long stretched out moves. If I'm in here, I'm pulling through, collapse, bring in, stretch, and here, and there we are. So a lot of different applications for this. All right, guys, go ahead and give it a try. All right, so as you're doing this technique, you strike in and you bring up here. Instead of keeping your body in here and just moving his head, if you pull and then you pull this hand and now you want to step back when you do it, he just twists a little easier. So instead of trying to muscle him through with just your hand, drop body weight, drop back in your stance and pull him. You'll find it a little easier to do.
Okay.
Reach, collapse him in. There you go, even a little more. Once you get him to here, then drop and step.
Okay.
There it is, nice job. All right, this is looking pretty good. This is actually the first time most of these guys have seen this technique, so it's nice to see that it works pretty quick and easy and people are getting the hang of it. One thing you do want to remember is when you start this and you go for this wrap, if you can't easily reach that chin, close the distance yourself. You don't have to always try and pull someone to you. If they're a lot bigger than you might have a hard time. You might need to step into them and get that reach and then seize them up tight. One other thing, I don't know if we've had this on the shows yet or not, but Master Instructor Dusty Seal was with us recently and he showed us a great technique that's virtually the same. Kelly, could you join me for a second? Master Seal was showing us that from this basic type of position, we do this as a down counter motion and we reach up and we grab hook, hair, ear, or jacket and turn, and he throws it into a down counter. Is his bunkai coming this way. He snaps through and throws this great move. Now the great thing about interpretation is you can get to the same place from different ideas, and that's exactly what we're doing. He uses a down counter motion to turn into this, and we were thinking, well, what's the up version of this? Instead of pulling down and away initially, we come into this move and we start lifting him up first, and then we twist and come back down. Just to give you guys an idea of how you can have different interpretations that end up with the same results and basically from the same setups, but you might have different things that remind you of that. Something to keep in mind as you guys are training and looking for stuff in your own forms. Thanks for joining us. Back to Scott.
If you want to try this at home, watch out for your partner's neck. You want to make sure the technique works, but you don't want to injure your friend. And as always, start slow. As your technique improves, ramp up the intensity over time until you can perform this move reliably under heavy stress. We love getting email from you. Send it to explorer@martialartsexplorer.tv. We'd also like to see video of you demonstrating one of your favorite techniques. If we use it on the show, you'll get a nice thank you gift from us. For Martial Arts Explorer and Michael Kleinepeer, I'm Scott Combs.